everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Air Guns. What we're going to take a look at today is the Magpul bipod. Now Magpul is known for their accessories for rifles such as this, as well as their magazines for rifles such as this. They're not so much well known for their bipods, but recently they came out with their rendition of a bipod for a rifle. It's a polymer bipod weighing in at around 11 ounces, retailing for $110, and it's a 6 to 10. I think it's 6.3 to 10.3 inches. When it comes to attaching the bipod to your rifle, you have four different options. You've got a Picatinny rail, an M-lock, an ARMS 17S system, which I honestly don't know what that is. And you've also got coming soon is a quick release sling stud option. This bipod does allow for tilt and swivel to a certain degree, and it also locks out the swivel portion of it. Also, the legs do extend. As I said, it's a 6 to 10 inch, and they will lock in place along the legs at certain points. Also, the feet are interchangeable. Now these are in here with a roll pin, so you will have to punch that out with that. I believe it's a 1/8 roll pin. You have to punch that out, then the feet can be removed. They're a rubber type material, pretty stiff. I think they're going to hold up and also allow for pretty good grip on surfaces. But if you take these feet out, they are interchangeable with Atlas feet. So that gives you a couple of different options to put on the bottom of this bipod. If you have the Picatinny rail option of this bipod, you attach it to your rifle via these two screws up here. Now these are flathead screws, but there's also an option to use a 1/8 inch hex key to loosen and tighten the two screws. Now Magpul has also added a little bit of Loctite on the screws so that they don't come loose over time. Adjusting the leg length is via this button right here. It's a push button. You just push it in and slide the leg to the position you want it. And you can see here it's got a bunch of notches. So these are not infinitely adjustable, as I like to say. They have to sit into a certain notch. And so you have to find that notch and let it just click into place. Additionally, in order to deploy the legs, you just simply bring it down and it snaps into place. And then to bring it back up, depress the button right there and lift the leg up. That's pretty nice if you need a quick deployment. In order to tilt or swivel, it's this big thumb screw right here. Loosen that up and it will allow for swivel and tilt all at the same time. In order to lock out pan, you'll notice it says pan right there, and on one of the legs is a little arrow. What you need to do is unscrew the thumb screw all the way, and it comes to a stopping point so it's not going to fall out on you. You can push up on it or you can pull up on the center hub piece like that, spin it 180 degrees until the word lock lines up with the arrow, and then just tighten it up again. And what that's going to do is give you a mechanical lock. So there is no slop built into this. Once that's locked in the lock position, you don't have any more pan. It's done. Let's take a look at the Magpul bipod from the bench rest position, since a lot of shooters spend a lot of time shooting from the bench. 90 degrees is your only option here. You've got a little bit of wobble there built in, and it seems like there's a little bit in the legs too. I got a little jiggle like that. It's doing a little dance. So you do have a little bit of slop both directions to deal with. If we had to correct for an off angle, I can grab the gun pretty tight and move against the restriction here and fine level, or if I can't get that enough, I can loosen this thumb screw up with just the two fingers from the side here. It's nice and big, and it's got nice deep knurling in it, so it grabs your fingers really well. But I can always loosen that up, and that allows me to swivel and tilt very easily, or tighten it up as much as I see fit. Now I'm going to crank on this thing pretty good. I don't think I can get any more than that, and I still have, with moderate pressure, I have the ability to tilt, and it's It wants to be locked in, but if I hold a leg, I can swivel as well. Now if I need a large leg adjustment or even a fine leg adjustment, it's pretty nice having these buttons face the shooter, because then you can use your thumb and get right on there. And now I can adjust the legs pretty easily. It's pretty easy to go past the actual lock-in point that you want, and just slide right by it, and then you have to come back down, or vice versa. So what I'm doing to control my ascent and descent is I'm wiggling the leg back and forth. Okay, that kind of slows me down, and what it's doing is it's kind of like biting on the leg as it's walking up. So that's one option for a little better control when you're using this bipod. Let's head outside and do some more tests. So the next test I'm going to do is what's called loading the rifle. It's when you have a windowsill or a block of wood or whatever, you have an object and you're going to push into your rifle, pushing it forward. I don't have much concerns with loading the rifle because of the way the legs lock in place at 90 degrees. They have this backer plate and all this hardware to support the leg in that 90-degree position. So we'll come up and we'll brace against here. And I see this slop here. I've got a little bit of slop built in, so if you're sensitive to slop, you're going to have to deal with that. But in loading the rifle, it's not moving much, guys. I mean, it's really not. I think for practical use, you can load the rifle and then you can pan back and forth, and that's pretty tight right there on that knob. And the gun's moving pretty freely. I got to put a little bit of tension into it for tilt, but I've got both options right now with loading the rifle. Now reverse loading is a little more concerned because you're going against this push button, and if that's not depressed all the way, or if it has not popped out, I mean, you stand the chance of popping your leg forward. But I think the chances of that are slim to none. So with the reverse load, I'm pulling back on the rifle, and again, it's taking it. You can see a little bit of flex right in here, but reverse loading a rifle is so rare that it's really not even a concern to me. With the legs extended, everything's going to be just accentuated and more pressure is going to be put throughout the system. But it's going to work just the same, and I can pan no problem, and I can pan and tilt no problem too. The next thing I'm going to look at is an extreme angle shot, which is something like this. And you can see right here how the leg is riding up on this block of wood, which is about 1.25 inches high. And so that's something to be aware of, is where your leg's going to hit if you take a shot like this. So if you have something like a little gap or something you can put your feet in, it's going to work a lot better. But on this angle, I can both pan and tilt, and like I said, I'm pretty locked in here. If I loosen that up a little bit, I'm actually quite effective at tracking a target along very steadily and keeping my rifle level. So I think that's a pass right there. Next up, let's take a look at a barricade shot. I've got my simulated barricade here, and there's two ways to do this. One way is to muzzle through and go right up against the hub of the bipod and line up and take your shot. The other way is to extend your legs forward and use your legs as a support. Now, I don't like this as much. I don't think it's as stable, but I have seen people do it, and it works, and it shows the bipod being used like that. So for this application, I think this is definitely the way to go. Pop, pop. So speaking about the legs and using the legs, I want to see if they will retract under pressure. Now, I highly doubt it because this is a mechanical, physical lock for these legs. So to have them retract would mean something's broke. Okay, this leg's not going anywhere. Once you lock it in place, you're there. Alright guys, so here we are in the prone position. We take our shot, and maybe we need to make an adjustment. I can push the thumb lever down and come in for my adjustment. Now, I kind of want to reach with this hand for ease of use in this position, but I wanted to make sure that I could do it from here. And you can. It's a little bit finicky trying to find the right lock-in spot, because the legs kind of, you know, they'll slide right by where you want to go. But the nice thing is, even if you miss your spot, you still get an elevation gain, and you can just tilt, because there's so much tilt built into this. You get a pretty good amount of tilt, and you can correct probably 2 or 3. Well, let's see, can I correct all of it? I can. I have one leg fully extended and the other one fully collapsed, and I can correct right back to a level position. So that's pretty good thinking, Magpul. As far as sitting and kneeling goes, well, it only goes to 10.3 inches. So unless I can break my back and fold myself in half, it's not really going to work for that. Unless I have something like this where I can use as a brace, and then I can go to work. But other than that, it's just not made for it. So guys, my next series of motions is meant to simulate using this bipod in a stressful environment. And I want to deploy it quickly, bring it back up, and just change motions in a very fast environment. So what I'm going to do is deploy the legs down and extend it for a prone shot, retract and bring them back up for a barricade shot, deploy again for a Benchrest shot. So let's see how it goes. Quick note, guys, one thing I'm noticing I'm doing when I retract these legs back into position is I'm reaching around the other side of the rifle and I'm pushing the button with my finger. I'm not trying to get to it with my thumb, because it's going to screw me all up. So, bugs are getting pretty bad right now, so let me get through this exercise. Deploying legs, down like so. And prone position, bang, bang. Leg back up, found that button, and pop, pop. Legs deployed on the bench, pop, pop. Not bad, guys. I think for rapid deployment and rapid usage in a stressful environment, I think this is going to do pretty good. Alright guys, it's pros and cons time on the Magpul bipod. Some cons to this bipod is I am primarily Benchrest shooter, and I really like a 45-degree option. I really wish this bipod had that 45 degrees. On top of that, having the screws or the Allen key attachment instead of a quick release, to me, that's a con as well. I really like being able to quickly take my bipod from one rifle to the next, and you may not be able to do that so easily with this one. Another thing on the con side is there is no true lockout for tilt. You can crank on this thumb screw until you darn near break the whole system, and it's just not going to go away. So if you're kind of leaning into your rifle a little bit, trying to get, you know, and coax it along, it might just go boop and move on you, and that's no good. But it's also very helpful in other situations. So that kind of falls in the middle there. Being made out of polymer keeps it lightweight, which I like. And also, I took the liberty of taking this foot out. Being a reviewer, it's my job to do this type of stuff. So I punched out the roll pin and took the foot out. It's pretty easy to do. So now I can put this Atlas foot in here. But before I do, here's a little interesting tidbit. If the foot fits in, then the extension fits in. So now I can go from a 6 to, what was it, 6 to 10 to 9 to 13. Just like that. And I can stack these up if I want to until I get up to that sitting position that I wanted before. But something you may not know is the Atlas legs will accept a 1/2 inch wooden dowel. So if you do need that sitting position and that kneeling position, you can cut actually a wooden dowel to whatever length you need it to be and go right in there. Now once this leg is installed, it doesn't want to come out. I mean, if I really cranked on this thing, I could rip it out of there, but it's going to take some real force to pull it out. And again, with the Atlas feet, I can have myself a real mean-looking bipod. Two specs I didn't mention before was I've got 25 degrees of tilt either way, so 50 degrees total, and that's what allows me to correct this full extension of the leg come back and correct the whole thing is that 25 degrees. Also, I have 20 degrees of pan, both directions, so 40 degrees total. Nice there. I think they did a good job with that. Another point on the con side would be the slop that these legs have, both right to left and forward to back. It's quite a bit in there, and it can throw off a precise shot if you're not loading into your rifle or anything like that. So that's something to be aware of. On the plus side, I really like that they have the ability to lock out the pan in case that's not needed. And it's not a soft lock. It is a hard, definitive lock. It ain't moving at all. And same thing with the legs. Having these different slots to stick in, once that leg's in place, and there's just a pinch of slop in there, but once it's in place, it's not coming out of place. It's good to go. So my feelings overall on the Magpul bipod, I think it's a good buy for the money. It's at $110, and you get a really good bipod. I mean, yes, it has some cons to it that personally I'm not a fan of, but overall, I think it's great. I think it's really a good bipod, and I think Magpul really knocked it out of the park, especially for their first try at it. So you can tell they did some research on bipods being used out there and the features that were important to people, and they put their minds to work and came out with something I think is really nice. Well guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this review on the Magpul bipod. If you're interested in the Magpul bipod, you can go over there to magpul.com and check out their bipod as well as their whole lineup of other rifle like this accessories. Quick reminder guys, I'm on Airgun 101 now, so you can head over there to check out my other videos as well as a whole bunch of other videos from other shooters. Also, there's plenty of ways to support my channel. You can buy clocks or send donations or buy decals. Go ahead, hit me up for a decal. And, you know, I'm thinking next up is going to be this bipod here by GG and G Tactical. I think that's going to be the next review I do, so stay tuned for that one. Till next time guys, happy shooting and thanks for watching. And then, and they also have like a tilt or swivel. Tilt or swivel. For rapid deployment and rapid usage in a stressful environment, I think this is going to do pretty good. Go away.